They thought my tea would kill me slowly enough that no one would question it. At 68, people expect your heart to simply give out one morning. Natural causes, they'd call it, unfortunate but not suspicious. What my son and his wife didn't know was that I'd spent 40 years as a hospital pharmacist, and I recognized the taste of digoxin the moment it touched my tongue. It was a Tuesday morning when I first noticed. The bitterness hiding under the chamomile, that metallic aftertaste that didn't belong. I'd brewed the same tea every morning for 3 decades. I knew every note of its flavor the way a pianist knows their scales. This was wrong. I set the cup down without finishing it and sat very still at my kitchen table, listening to my heartbeat. Slightly irregular. Slower than it should be. Not alarming yet, but noticeable. My son Marcus had made that tea. He'd insisted on it lately, hovering in my kitchen with that tight smile he wore when he wanted something. "You work too hard, Mom," he'd say, placing the steaming cup in front of me. "Let me take care of you for once." I'd thought it was guilt. His way of apologizing for the years he'd spent absent, busy with his pharmaceutical sales job and his ambitious wife, Nicole. I'd thought he was finally trying to be a good son. I was wrong. I poured the rest of the tea into a mason jar when he wasn't looking and hid it in the back of my refrigerator, behind the expired yogurt he'd never think to clean out. Then I sat at my kitchen table and forced myself to think like a scientist, not a mother. Symptoms over the past month: fatigue, nausea, irregular heartbeat, vision disturbances, all consistent with cardiac glycoside poisoning, all easily mistaken for an aging heart giving out. The life insurance policy. The thought arrived cold and clear. $6.5 million, taken out 5 years ago when my late husband died, and Marcus insisted I needed protection. Nicole had helped me fill out the paperwork. She worked in estate planning, knew all about these things. The beneficiary was Marcus. Only Marcus. My hands didn't shake when I opened my laptop. I'd spent too many years measuring precise doses of medications to let emotion interfere with facts. I needed proof. I needed to be absolutely certain before I destroyed my only child's life. The next morning, Marcus showed up at 7 with fresh pastries and that same tight smile. "Morning, Mom. Thought we could have breakfast together." Nicole stood behind him, perfectly put together in her real estate blazer, checking her phone. They'd been stopping by every morning for 2 weeks now. Always with food. Always with tea. "That's sweet, honey," I said, keeping my voice warm. "Let me just grab my sweater. It's chilly in here." I went to my bedroom and carefully transferred a small amount of my morning medication into my pocket. When I returned, Marcus was already brewing tea in my kitchen. I watched him carefully. His movements were practiced, automatic. He reached into his jacket pocket without looking, pulled out a small pill box, and tapped something into one of the cups. Then he poured the tea, added honey to mask the taste, and turned to me with a smile that once made me feel like the most important person in his world. "Here you go, Mom. Drink it while it's hot." I took the cup. The ceramic was warm against my palms. I raised it to my lips, let the steam touch my face, and pretended to sip. "Delicious, sweetheart. Thank you." He watched me for a moment, then relaxed. Nicole glanced up from her phone and gave me a bright, empty smile before turning back to her screen. They stayed for 20 minutes, talking about nothing. Marcus asked about my week. Nicole mentioned a property she was showing. They were so normal, so comfortable, so convinced I was dying by gentle degrees, and I'd never suspect a thing. After they left, I poured the poisoned tea into another jar. Then I called my former colleague, Ruth, who ran the hospital lab. "I need a favor," I told her, "and I need you not to ask questions yet." She'd known me 30 years. She heard something in my voice. "What do you need? Can you run a toxicology screen on a tea sample? And on my blood?" Silence. Then, "Jesus, Gloria. Are you serious? I'll explain everything. But I need to know what I'm dealing with first." She told me to come in that afternoon. I drove myself, even though my hands trembled on the steering wheel. Not from the poison, from the understanding that my son, The boy I'd rocked through nightmares and taught to ride a bike, was killing me for money. The blood draw was quick. Ruth handled it herself in a private room, her jaw tight. She labeled everything carefully and told me to come back in 2 days. "If this is what you think it is," she said quietly, "you need to call the police." "Not yet. I need to understand the whole picture." 2 days felt like 2 years. I didn't drink any tea. I told Marcus I wasn't feeling well, needed to rest. He looked concerned, but something flickered in his eyes. Impatience. They were on a timeline, I realized. The insurance policy? Probably. Or maybe they had debts I didn't know about. Nicole's designer clothes weren't cheap, and Marcus's new car had been a surprise when he showed up with it last month. I spent those 2 days going through my financial records. Marcus had power of attorney for my medical decisions, signed 2 years ago when I had a minor surgery and needed someone to make calls if I was incapacitated. It was supposed to be temporary. I'd meant to revoke it and never did. Stupid, trusting. But he didn't have access to my money. Not yet. That was handled through my attorney, Linda Morrison, the same woman who'd managed my estate since my husband died. I called her office. "Linda, I need to review my will and all related documents. Can you send everything over?" "Of course, Gloria. Is everything all right?" "I'm making some changes. I'll explain later." The documents arrived by email within an hour. I read every word. The will left everything to Marcus, my only child. Standard. But there were also papers I didn't remember signing. A revised power of attorney, dated 6 months ago, giving Marcus access to my accounts in case of cognitive decline or medical emergency. My signature was there. Perfect. Too perfect. I'd worked with enough forged prescriptions over the years to recognize one. On Thursday morning, Ruth called. Her voice was carefully controlled. "Gloria, sit down." "I'm sitting." "Your blood shows toxic levels of digoxin, not lethal yet, but consistent with chronic exposure over several weeks. The T sample had even higher concentrations. Someone is poisoning you, and they're doing it slowly." I closed my eyes. Hearing it confirmed didn't shock me. It just made everything real. "How long do I have? If you stop ingesting it immediately, you'll recover. But if you'd continued at this rate, maybe 2 more weeks before cardiac arrest, it would look natural. An old heart giving out." "I'm 68, Ruth. Not ancient." "I know." Her voice cracked slightly. "Gloria, you need to call the police right now. This is attempted murder." "I will. But I need one more thing first. Can you document everything? The blood work, the T sample, the timeline, already done. I printed copies for you and flagged it in the system. This is evidence now." I picked up the documents that afternoon. Ruth hugged me hard before I left. "Be careful," she whispered. "People who do this once will try again." I drove home through the October afternoon, watching leaves scatter across the road. The world looked sharper somehow, colors brighter. I'd almost lost this, almost let them take every morning, every sunset, every moment I had left. The anger came then, not hot, but ice cold and clear. Marcus and Nicole showed up the next morning with coffee and bagels. No tea. Interesting. Maybe they were spacing out the doses now, being cautious. I invited them in and watched them settle into my living room like they already owned it. "How are you feeling, Mom?" Marcus asked. Concern dripped from his voice like honey. "You look tired." "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just getting old." Nicole glanced around the living room, her eyes cataloging furniture, artwork, the antique clock my husband left me. I saw her doing math in her head. Everything here would be theirs soon. They just had to wait a little longer. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice light, "I wanted to talk to you both about something. I've been thinking about updating my estate plan." Marcus sat up straighter. "Oh, why's that?" "Well, you know, I have that life insurance policy. $6.5 million. It seems like a lot to leave to just one person. I was thinking maybe I should split it. Leave some to charity. Maybe set up a fund in your father's name." The change in the room was immediate. Nicole's smile froze. Marcus's face went carefully blank. Mom, we talked about this. You set that up specifically to take care of me if something happened to you. I know, honey. But you're doing so well now. Your job, Nicole's career, you don't need it the way you used to. It's not about need, Nicole cut in, her voice sharp before she caught herself. It's about honoring your wishes, your original wishes. People change their minds, I said gently. I'm calling Linda next week to make some adjustments. Marcus stood up. His jaw was tight. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. Maybe the stress is getting to you. Maybe we should talk to your doctor about this. There it was, the threat. Declare me incompetent. Take control. Finish the job faster. I saw it all playing out in his eyes. I'm thinking very clearly, Marcus. Clearer than I have in months, actually. They left shortly after. The door closed harder than necessary. I watched from the window as Nicole grabbed Marcus's arm in the driveway, her mouth moving fast, angry. He was shaking his head, trying to calm her down, or maybe planning their next move. I called Linda immediately. I need to see you today. Emergency. Her office was downtown, a quiet space that smelled like old books and expensive coffee. She took one look at my face and closed the door. What's wrong? I showed her everything. The lab results, the forged documents, the timeline. She read in silence, her expression darkening with each page. My God, Gloria, I need to revoke all powers of attorney immediately. I need to change my will, and I need it done today before they try something else. Linda was already pulling out forms. We can do that, but you need to file a police report. This is attempted murder and forgery. I will, but I want everything locked down first. I want them to think they still have time while I build the case. That's dangerous. It's strategic. I spent 40 years measuring exact doses to keep people alive. I know how to be precise. We worked through the afternoon. Every document signed, witnessed, sealed. By the time I left her office, Marcus had no access to anything. My granddaughter Emma, his daughter from his first marriage, was now my medical proxy and secondary beneficiary after the charity funds. She was 26, studying social work, and had always been careful to maintain a relationship with me even after her parents' bitter divorce. Marcus barely spoke to her. That had been his mistake. I called Emma that evening. Honey, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully. Her voice went serious immediately. Grandma? What's wrong? I told her everything, every detail, every piece of evidence. When I finished, she was crying. Dad is trying to kill you? Yes. And Nicole knows? She's helping him. A long silence. Then her voice came back hard. What do you need me to do? Nothing yet. Just be ready. I'm going to handle this, but I wanted you to know. If something happens to me, the truth is documented. Linda has everything. Grandma, please call the police right now. Soon. I promise. But I waited. I needed one more piece. I needed to hear them say it. Needed them to incriminate themselves in their own words. So the next morning, when Marcus texted asking to stop by, I said yes, and I set my phone to record in my pocket before I opened the door. They came in, smiling. Marcus carried a thermos. Brought your favorite tea, Mom. The chamomile blend you like. I took the thermos with both hands. That's thoughtful, honey. Nicole settled on my couch, crossing her legs. Her smile was different today, sharper, more confident. Gloria, Marcus and I have been talking. We're worried about you. Worried how? You're forgetting things, Marcus said carefully, getting confused. That conversation about changing your will? That wasn't like you, Mom. I think you might be experiencing some cognitive decline. My chest tightened, but I kept my face neutral. I see. We think you should see a doctor, Nicole continued. Get evaluated. Maybe it's time to consider assisted living. Somewhere with medical staff who can keep an eye on you. Somewhere you have access to my medical decisions, I said quietly. Marcus's expression flickered. That's not what this is about, isn't it? You put something in this tea, didn't you, Marcus? The same thing you've been putting in it for weeks. The room went silent. Nicole's smile vanished. Marcus stared at me, his face pale. Mom, what are you talking about? I set the thermos down and pulled the lab reports from my cardigan pocket. Digoxin. Toxic levels in my blood. Matching concentrations in the tea samples I saved. Weeks of documented poisoning. Nicole stood up fast. This is insane. We would never. Stop. My voice cut through hers. I'm a pharmacist, Nicole. Was a pharmacist for 40 years. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? Marcus's hands were shaking. Mom, you're confused. You don't understand what you're saying. I understand perfectly. $6.5 million. That's what my life is worth to you. That's what you're killing me for. We're not, he stopped himself. Looked at Nicole. Something passed between them. Then Nicole's face hardened. Fine. You want to talk about this honestly? Let's talk. You're 68 years old, Gloria. You live alone in a house too big for you. You have no close friends anymore. No hobbies. No life. You're just existing, taking up space, sitting on money you'll never spend. Nicole Marcus started. She ignored him. We need that money. Marcus's commissions are down. We have debts. We have a life we're trying to build. And you're here, clinging to every penny like it means something. It doesn't. You're going to die anyway. We just moved up the timeline. The casual cruelty of it was breathtaking. I looked at my son. Is that how you see it too? He wouldn't meet my eyes. You don't understand the pressure we're under. So you decided to murder me. It's not murder if you die of natural causes. Nicole, again, her voice cold. Old people die of heart failure all the time. No one would have questioned it. My phone was still recording in my pocket. Every word, every confession. I kept my voice steady. I'm calling the police. No, you're not. Nicole stepped closer. Because if you do, we'll tell them you're experiencing dementia. We'll show them medical records. We'll bring in doctors who'll testify that you're confused, paranoid, making false accusations. Who do you think they'll believe? An elderly woman living alone? Or a concerned son trying to help his mentally declining mother? I have proof. Proof can be contested, explained away. We'll say you're self-medicating, taking things you shouldn't. We'll make you look incompetent, and then Marcus gets control anyway. Her smile was vicious. You can't win this, Gloria. I looked at Marcus again. My son. The boy I'd raised alone after his father died, who I'd put through college, who I'd believed was good underneath his weaknesses. Do you really think you'll get away with this? He finally met my eyes. What I saw there wasn't guilt. It was calculation. We already have, Mom. Even if you go to the police now, it's your word against ours. And honestly, you don't look well. You look exactly like someone whose mind is failing. They left me standing in my living room, the poisoned tea still warm on my table. The door clicked shut. The house settled into silence around me. I waited 5 minutes. Then I stopped the recording, saved it to 3 different cloud accounts, and called Detective Sarah Chen, the officer who'd handled my husband's estate when he died. She remembered me. Mrs. Morrison, is everything all right? No, Sarah. I need to report an attempted murder, and I have all the evidence you need. She arrived within an hour with 2 other officers. I showed them everything. The lab reports, the recorded conversation, the forged documents, the timeline Ruth had prepared. Sarah's face went hard as stone as she read. This is your son? Yes, Mrs. Morrison. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Just arrest him. They picked up Marcus at his office that afternoon. Nicole was arrested an hour later at an open house showing. I didn't watch. Linda called to tell me it was done, her voice gentle. How are you holding up, Gloria? I don't know yet. Ask me later. Emma came over that evening. She let herself in with the key I'd given her years ago and found me sitting in the kitchen, staring at nothing. She knelt in front of my chair and took my hands. Grandma, I looked at her. really looked. She had her father's eyes, but her mother's kindness. "I'm sorry, you have to know this about your dad. I'm sorry he did this to you." Her voice broke. "I'm sorry he became this person. He was always this person. I just didn't want to see it." We sat together in the quiet. The house felt different now, not haunted, but altered, like walking into a room where the furniture has been rearranged in the dark. You know where things should be, but nothing is quite where you expect. Emma heated up soup I hadn't asked for and made me eat it. Then she helped me pack a bag. "You're staying with me tonight, and tomorrow, and however long it takes until you feel safe again." I'm safe now. Maybe. But you shouldn't be alone. She was right. I let her drive me to her small apartment across town. Let her tuck me into her guest bed, like I used to tuck Marcus in when he had bad dreams. The irony wasn't lost on me. The trial took 8 months. Marcus pleaded not guilty. Nicole tried to cut a deal, claiming she'd been coerced, but the recording of her casual confession destroyed that defense. My testimony was clear, precise, unshakable. I'd spent 40 years presenting drug interactions to doctors who thought they knew better. I knew how to make facts undeniable. The jury convicted them both. Marcus got 15 years for attempted murder and fraud. Nicole got 12. I didn't attend the sentencing. Emma went in my place and called me afterward. "He cried," she said, apologized, said he never meant for it to go this far. "Do you believe him?" "No." "Good. You're smarter than I was." I sold the house 6 weeks after the trial ended. Too many ghosts, too many mornings waiting for poison tea. I bought a small condo near Emma's apartment and started volunteering at the community center, teaching seniors about medication safety. Ironic, maybe, but useful. On my 70th birthday, Emma threw me a party. Just a few people: Ruth from the lab, Linda, some women from my volunteer group. We ate cake and told stories, and for the first time in 2 years, I laughed without hearing an echo of betrayal underneath it. That night, Emma drove me home and walked me to my door. "You okay, Grandma?" "I'm getting there. I'm proud of you. For fighting back, for not letting them win." I hugged her tight. "I'm proud of you, too, for being nothing like your father." After she left, I stood on my balcony and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Marcus was in a cell, probably still calculating, still convinced he'd been justified. I'd stopped trying to understand him. Some things you have to let go of, even when they share your blood. I made myself chamomile tea, real chamomile, nothing hidden in it. The taste was clean and familiar. I sipped it slowly, feeling the warmth spread through my chest. Not poison, just comfort. They'd tried to kill me for money I would have given them if they'd just asked. That was the part that hurt most. Not the betrayal, but the waste, the unnecessary cruelty, the choice to take instead of receive. But I was still here, still breathing, still tasting tea and watching sunsets, and teaching other people how to protect themselves from the exact thing that had almost killed me. That had to mean something. I finished my tea, washed the cup, and went to bed. The apartment was small but safe. The locks were new. My will was airtight. Emma was provided for. The charity my husband and I had always supported would be funded. Everything was in order. And me? I was still learning how to live in the after, how to trust my own judgment again, how to accept that love doesn't guarantee safety and family doesn't mean loyalty. Hard lessons for an old woman, but I was learning them anyway, because the alternative was giving up. And I'd spent too long fighting to die just because someone else wanted my money. If this story teaches you anything, let it be this: trust your instincts, document everything, and remember that you're worth more than whatever anyone else thinks they can get from your death. Choose yourself, even when it's your own child standing in the doorway with poison in their hands. Especially then,